So we have come live now. A very good afternoon to everyone watching us live from across the globe. And on this auspicious occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi, we wish everyone a happy Ganesh Chaturthi. To everyone who is watching us live from India as well as from the different parts of the world. So today we are gathered here for a webinar on social stigma. A social stigma caused. So we are gathered here for the webinar on social stigma faced by a nurse after giving care to COVID-19 patients. So for today's webinar, I would like to welcome our moderator for the afternoon, Dr. Mahantesh Naganuri, a PhD scholar from Sri Venkateshwara University, Gajraula, UP. He has an 8 years of experience in nursing teaching field. Have worked as a lecturer for 4 years at Maya University, Ethiopia. Sir, we welcome you to the webinar. And before the presentation, I would like Sir to introduce our speakers. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and a happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all. In India, we have reported our first case of COVID-19 on Jan 30 this year. And after that, we have around 29 lakh plus COVID-19 cases in our country. In that, 22 lakh have been already recovered, and we have 6 lakh plus active cases. And with other countries, we are among the best recovery rates in the world. So to achieve this goal, the role of our frontliners, especially the doctors, nurses, and the police staff, has a major role. And after doing all our selfless and dedicated work, still we are facing a discrimination from the society as well as our family members. So this is leading to the stigma, and that is the main topic of this hour. And that's why we had selected this topic for our webinar. And before welcoming our presenter for this afternoon, I would like to give a brief introduction about her. And let me confess, this is the biggest CV which I have ever come across, and I will try to cut short as much as possible to give more space for her for the presentation. We have Dr. Revati with us. She had completed her diploma in nursing and midwifery from Christian Medical College, Vellore, in the year of 1987, and she had completed her post-basic nursing from Apollo College of Nursing in the year of 2004, and completed her MSc Nursing from Sri Ramachandra College of Nursing, Chennai, in the year of 2006, and she also had secured a gold medal that year. And she completed her PhD in nursing from Sri Ramachandra College of Nursing in Chennai in the year of 2014. Dr. Revati has a tremendous experience in our field, that is of 30 years, in the 15 years in the field of nursing service and 15 years in the field of nursing education, and still counting. And she has worked in many roles, even in the hospital side as well as in the teaching field. She has worked as a staff nurse, senior staff nurse, and clinical nurse, lecturer, assistant professor, principal, and currently she is working as a nursing superintendent dual role in Ramchandra Hospital, Chennai. Dr. Revati is an editorial member of various international and state level journals. Dr. Revati conducted many researches which includes the topics of myocardial infarction, leadership roles, psoriasis, rehabilitation, sleep hygiene, and all. Dr. Revati recognized with many awards, which also includes the gold medal which she secured for her selfless efforts in the field of nursing the patients. Dr. Revati was a resource person for many international and national level conferences. Dr. Revati have published various research articles in international and national level journals. Dr. Revati have completed many certificate courses like cardiopulmonary resuscitation, intensive care unit, respiratory therapy, IV therapy, and many other. This was a short intro about our presenter for today, and I would like to welcome Dr. Revati for our presentation. Dr. Revati, over to you.
Yes, can you hear?
Yes, yes,
Can you
Yes,
hear me?
yes, ma'am.
Can I start?
Yes,
please,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. A warm good afternoon, one and all gathered here digitally. It's my pleasure to speak in front. Yeah, I'm back. Can I start?
Yes, ma'am. You can.
Is it okay?
Your video isn't visible.
A warm good afternoon, one and all. I want. Can you hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a brief information about COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic first struck Italy in the year 2020 January. The pandemic demands like high pressure work and stress so the unfavorable environment emotionally demanding many interactions. Providing care was emotionally difficult for the frontline workers, especially nurses, with too much of stress, uncertainty, and stigmatization. Being dominant and themes for healthcare workers, they often had complex and conflicting thoughts and feelings about balancing their duties as caregivers, and it provides feeling professional responsibility but also and guilt about the potentially exposing their families to the infection by working during the COVID-19 emergency. Working with potentially high-risk patients and highly infected patients led to the desirable amount of stigmatization. So stigmatization can substantially increase the suffering of people with the disease, and people with uh, the disease are at risk of catching it may not see the health, seek the healthcare. Professionals and volunteers working in the field become stigmatized to higher rates of stress, burnout, and many other mental illness. So, with this prelude, I wish to start my presentation with the acknowledgement Vignesh, Ms. Pooja, Mr. Ashish, and Mr. Mahantesh. So, belong to Society for Nursing Practice, and I wish to register my sincere acknowledgement to them for giving me the opportunity and having the trust on me to deliver this speech. Thank you very much, one and all. So things to know about COVID-19. So all of us know, but still it is, I am bringing it to the discussion. Although COVID-19 is highly contagious, all of us know it spreads very fast. We can protect ourselves by following certain preventive measures such as physical distancing, maintaining a social distancing, 1 meter distance, washing your hands frequently, and wearing a mask and face cover, etc. So despite of all these precautions, if a person catches COVID-19, it is not her or his fault. So anyone is susceptible to contracting the disease. No one needs to be blamed. So actually, no one, you cannot blame anyone that for getting this disease. In situations of distress, the patient and the family need support and more of cooperation from the healthcare workers and from the public. So, as a well wisher to those in isolation or in quarantine and their families, testing and isolation and quarantine are meant to protect the family and community, not to harm them. This you have to understand properly. Celebrate the persons who have recovered from COVID-19 as winners. That this we are not doing it. So when a person recovered from COVID-19, we have to celebrate and we have to announce them as winners because they are the conquerors. So they do not have the virus and there is no risk of transmission. This has to be registered in everyone's mind. And these are the healthcare workers, frontline workers, the doctors and the nurses and the technicians. They are all staying in the hospital doing duty for the public. They are requesting the public to stay at home and because they can work comfortably. So for our sake, they are requesting us to stay at home. This is the slogan everywhere and this is the picture everywhere in every social media. It was telecasted. Coming to that, what is this stigma? We are going to talk so much about the stigma. What is this? It's a discrimination against an identifiable group of people, a place or a nation. Just identifying the person like that, she's like that, she's infected, she's having this. So this nurse, that nurse, like that. No, you identify a person or a group of people or a place or a nation. This is called stigma in general. So stigma is associated with a lack of knowledge. This is the problem we have basically. How much ever you educate through the media and through government, this is the problem. How it is associated with that. So the lack of knowledge is the big problem. They need to blame someone. That's why they are blaming someone. And fear about the disease and death is very, very, very big, which is very vast. And gossip that spreads rumors and myths. Sometimes, however, you are educated. So when you hear these rumors and myths, and you yourself will be misled, and sometimes causing a lots of confusion in the community. So why COVID-19 is causing so much stigma? Why COVID-19? The level of stigma associated with the COVID-19 is based on three main factors. One is it's a disease that's new to the world and for which there are still many unknowns. Still we have not identified many things. Still it is in the research, still in the fluid form. Many facts are not brought out to the world. So the stigma is so easily it's affecting. We are often afraid of the unknown. So still we don't know many things. So that's why we are so afraid. And it is easy to associate that fear with others. So because we don't know many facts, so simply we put the blame on someone. Simply we associated that fear with some other or some country, some nation. So the stigma is going around. So it is understandable that there is confusion. So we know one thing, we make sure that there's a confusion, lots of confusion going on because of that anxiety and fear among the public. Unfortunately, these factors are also fueling harmful stereotypes. So this adds the petrol into the fire like that. No, so there are many harmful stereotypes are likely to occur. The role of stigma. So let the stigma be there. What it will do. So let us see. The social stigma in the context of health is the negative association between a person or a group of people who share certain characteristics and a specific disease. So when you give a care, a nurse is giving care. So the stigma is associated with that person. It is not a positive association. It's a negative association. So in an outbreak like COVID-19, this may mean people are labeled, stereotyped, discriminated against, treated separately, are isolated, and are experience loss of status because of a perceived link with the disease. So these people, nurses who are giving care, so they are treated separately and they discriminated against, and they are labeled that they gave care to the corona nurse and they are infected like that. There are many stamping has done against the nurses. But when we speak in any forum, we say nurses are the pillars, nursing service is the pillar of the profession. So much we talk, but this is the very unfortunate thing the stigma is doing, and the nurses are stamped as infected and corona nurse like that. So in continuation with that, such treatment can negatively affect those with the disease or well as their caregivers and family, friends and communities. Suppose this nurse is an unmarried girl. Imagine, so when it is associated with the nurse, her future is spoiled. People who don't have the disease but share the other characters with this group may also suffer from stigma. The people who are associated, linked with the nurse or the frontline workers also suffer from the stigma. The current COVID-19 outbreak has provoked social stigma and discriminatory behaviors against people of certain ethnic backgrounds, as well as anyone perceived to have been in contact with the virus. This is the fact which we should accept. What are the consequences? So, because of the stigma, when a nurse is giving care to the COVID-19 patient, they are stamped as infected nurse, and they are contagious, and they will spread the infection. They are not supposed to be allowed into the communities. They are not supposed to occupy any house. They are not allowed to enjoy any public facilities. They cannot come into the public. All those things are there. So, what are the consequences of this stigma? The spread of novel coronavirus across the globe and the associated morbidity and mortality challenge their nations by several means. This we all know. One such under-recognized and unaddressed area is the mental health issues medical staff developed during the pandemic due to stigma. So we all of us concentrate on the mortality and morbidity of the patients, and which is challenging us. There many research are still going on, but no one, notice this, that medical staff who are giving care. So when they are assigned to the COVID patients for nearly 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, they are with the patient wearing the personal protective equipment, and they cannot go to the restroom, and they cannot go for food, and there are many constraints are there. So working after all this and this stigma, so after giving care, this stigma, they are infected nurse, they are infected doctor, and so much rumor and myths are coming in the society. This is the first thing. And what is the impact? January 24, 2020, according to the declaration, the recent displays of public support for COVID-19 responders are heartwarming, but many responders are nevertheless experiencing the harassed by the public, neighbors, and in the stigmatization and physical violence. In March 18, 2020, a statement WHO also unveiled that some healthcare workers may unfortunately experience different experiences. And in March 18, 2020 statement, WHO also unveiled that this experience is avoidance by their family members. This is very sad and unfortunate. So what are the consequences of this stigma? So the
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, can you hear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. You can
Yeah, I'm
continue.
connected back. In the year March 18, 2020, the WHO statement that it is shocking that, that workers experience their own family members and their own community owing to stigma or fear. This can make an already challenging situation for the more difficult. In continuation with that, several incidents of stigmatization of healthcare workers, COVID-19 patients, and survivors have come up during this pandemic across the world. We hear here and there. For instance, in Mexico, doctors and nurses were found to use bicycles as they were reportedly denied access to a public transport and were subjected to physical assaults. And these nurses and doctors are working for the public, and after giving care, they were denied the public transport and they were made to go by bicycles. So this is reported, and this is something very we have to think very seriously about it. And similarly, in Malawi, healthcare workers were reportedly disallowed from using the public transport, insulted in the street, and evicted from rented apartments. They were chased from rented houses. They were not given permission to continue their rented apartments. In India, media reports revealed that doctors and medical staff dealing with the COVID-19 patients faced substantial social ostracism, and they were asked to vacate their rented homes and were even attacked for carrying out their duty. So when they are doing their duty for the patients, and they were attacked by the public and the neighbor and the community, which we have to record this. And however, in USA, the doctors' experience of COVID-19 related stigma is different. In USA, we have heard several instances where their healthcare workers have faced harassment at public places like bus stand and other places because they have been perceived as at higher risk of transmission, says Anish Rai, a consultant pediatrician at the Cook Children's Medical Center, Texas, USA. So this is also reported in the media that they were harassed in the public places. And you see, attacked and underpaid medics in Philippines, they battle against the stigma. Here they are requesting for the safety environment. For the safety, these people are giving their life. They are taking much risk and working with the patient, not even minding their own health and family. And these people are in an unsafe position, like they're attacked by the public, and they are not paid well, and the Philippines are fighting against the battle. See here, women kicked out of the bus because commuters find that she's a nurse. It's very pathetic. So this also happened, and this came in media that nurses were considered as contagion. They will spread the infection to the public. So these people are nurses are working for the public, and they are considered as contagion, and they were kicked out of the bus. Here, nurses being attacked. Soldiers were posted for the safety outside the hospital in Mexico. This happened. This also came in media. So soldiers were needed to protect the nurses in Mexico. Coming to the theoretical model of stigma, why the stigma is happening, what is the consequence of this? So here, when the nurses are posted to the COVID ward and they are with the patients for long hours, 6 to 8 hours, and they cannot go for food and restroom and water. So their job demands are more. They face so much of stress and depression, and work pressure is more. So because of that, the hypothesis says that the are retired and repeatedly doing the same thing, and no motivation, no encouragement. So they land up with bad burnout, and there's no satisfaction level is very less. So because of that, their self-efficacy is affected. In turn, it is again, so they face the discrimination from public, the COVID stigma, discrimination, fear, and acceptance. All are related. So when they face this stigma, like are discriminated, and they have the fear, and anytime they may be attacked by the public, the community, they are not accepted in the public. So again, that leads to the fatigue and burnout and satisfaction. This cycle goes round and round, and because no one is bothered to work on it and intervene something, and are not motivated, this is still continuing. Like effects of stigma and discrimination. What is the effect it has? People concealing the symptoms. They don't want to come out with the symptoms. If they have a problem, they don't come out with the symptom. Hesitancy in seeking the medical care. People are not adhering to interventions like home quarantine and isolation. Any instruction is given, they are not sticking to that. Increased sense of emotional isolation, feeling of guilt and anxiety. They feel that they are separated from the house or separated from the community, like that. They have less self-esteem and confidence, not able to go in front. And stress session of healthcare workers and others involved in COVID-19 management, worsening of pre-existing psychiatric illness such as depression. There are many studies prove that these medicals, the doctors and the nurses who are giving care to the COVID-19 patients land up with the depression and anxiety disorders, and many committed suicides, and many tried many suicidal ideation. And there are many challenges kept in front of us. And infection prevention is the big challenge which is kept in front of us. And control in primary and in community and in acute care settings, present healthcare and nursing professionals with huge challenges we are facing. However, you educate through radio and through media, and in many ways you give pamphlet, you distribute, you go in street and teach them in person. So it is a big challenge. Still, we face this stigma. Why, we do not know. So providing support to reduce the gaps in the critical knowledge. So as COVID-19 is a newly identified disease, all of you know, and effective vaccines and treatments are still in development, still under research. And so in tackling this newly identified contagious disease, so nurses face a potential risk of infection as well as potential work-related anxiety and mental health problem. Why? Because so the nurses are the 24/7 always staying with the patient. Continuously, the nurses are staying with the patient, giving care, and they give the high touch care. So they are exposed to the potential work-related anxiety and mental health problem. It is important to apply the latest knowledge, current knowledge, to protect healthcare professionals. So what are the ways you can protect the nurses from getting the infection, and nursing staff who are caring for patients with the COVID-19? So that is very important. It's a big challenge. Healthcare providers must be educated about the dangers of infectious disease, including the proper use of personal protective equipment. Not only how to use, so what all the personal protective equipment is mandatory when they give care to the patients who are in ICU, who are kept in the ward, so who are kept in the quarantine quarters. So all those things to be clearly educated to the nurse before they are assigned to the COVID-19 patients. So proper personal hygiene practices and related environmental measures to be taught to the healthcare workers, especially for the nurses. A proper education, a proper training to be given, not only educating them, do this and do that, they should practice, and that has to be evaluated and checked. So preventing inadequacies in the healthcare system. If you see any hospital, any healthcare system, so anywhere, the rapid spread of COVID-19 has caused challenges worldwide, not only in India, everywhere, any country, especially in terms of delivering sufficient personal protective equipment to the healthcare system. So the doctors are using the personal protective equipment, and nurses are using, other people are using. So when it comes to the nurses, sometimes it is compromised, but nurses are the one who are sitting with the patient for a longer time. So the inadequate supply of personal protective equipment is a big challenge in the country. The disease mainly spreads through respiratory droplets, all of us know, and insufficient personal protective equipment like simple face masks and gloves and gowns and the eye shield, and all those things are needed. It is mandatory. It has been associated with the occupational exposure and illness. We cannot compromise on any one of this. Suppose if face mask is not there, so we cannot enter the ward. All these things are mandatory. So this inadequate supplies in many of the healthcare system also put the nurse at risk of getting the infection. So the previous studies, many studies have reported or inadequate personal protective equipment and medical supplies in the hospitals or any healthcare agencies during the post events. Improving production and procurement is critical to ensuring security and safety in the workplace. This is very much challenging, the unavailability also. Recently also through the Tamil Nadu Nurses and Midwives Council, through Registrar, we have donated some fund to the nurses who are working for the COVID-19 patients for the procurement of these personal protective equipment. But still it is going on. The situation is still prevailing. Policies and strategies to be made to prevent the staffing shortages. Still per year we are producing there are many colleges in Tamil Nadu and in India. Every year there are many thousands of nurses are coming out, and still we face the staffing shortages. Outbreaks of recognized contagious illness such as COVID-19 highlight the risk of safety problems for healthcare workers, especially nurses. Manpower shortage during infectious disease outbreaks may be caused by uncertainties regarding life-threatening infectious sources and real cases of infection among healthcare staff. So we face the shortage of staff nurses because we have to provide for 3 shifts, 24 hours. We have to cover the shift 3 24 hours we have to cover. So there are shortage of nurses is the next challenging thing in our country. Policies from government, healthcare, and nursing administration systems may help prevent the rapid spread of COVID-19 through measures including infection control, education, protective equipment usage, and isolating the patients who have been infected from the non-infected population. These and other measures may protect the healthcare staff. So some policies from the government and the private health sectors and all those things to be made so that we can protect the healthcare staff, the frontline workers can be protected. There should be a proper policy. And nurse administrators and clinicians also play important role in developing and promoting effective anti-infection protective environments and strategies you can prevent. So there are many simple things you can create, and you can protect your own staff nurses. Suppose when you open the door, so there should be a sanitary towel and with the antiseptics. So the simple things where you can protect the nurses, the nurse administrators, and the clinicians may take a part in. So recently we also we prepared a video on this, and we have instructed the nurses to go through this and ask them to watch this, so that some help, some type of help, some type of education then and then should be there to encourage the nurses. Policies on employment benefits and incentives may also be used to increase staff retention during the outbreak. So why these nurses are leaving during this COVID time? Many resignations are put. So why? Because they are not supported by the incentives and some benefits, and they should be supported during the shift. There are many incentives can be given to them. So when that is not there, they leave the institution during this outbreak, which is very crucial. Already we face shortage of staff, and during this outbreak, if they resign and go, which is we put the situation into cruciality. So here the private institution or the government sectors should give some incentive in terms of monetary benefit, so that will retain the nurses, and further it will motivate the nurses. People who are not interested also can come towards and work for the COVID-19 patients. Psychological and social support for patients and healthcare professionals and nurses. This is very important. How we are going to support these people psychologically during the outbreaks of infectious disease such as COVID-19. There is uncertainty, lots of uncertainty. We are anxious and we are panic, and spread as the overall situation changes quickly. So, and particularly while the disease is not yet under control, so much we are practicing and following, and still the disease is not yet under control. The death toll is increasing, infection rate is increasing. Supporting those with the disease, those under isolation, and healthcare staff is essential. So those who are quarantined, those who are identified as having the disease positive, we need to support them, some moral support to be given. Implementing policy, there should be some separate policies and strategies to decrease the conflict stemming from disease-related discrimination and isolation is also very critical. So to support them psychologically and social support, so who will provide the food and who will, where they will be kept, there is some arrangement and policies to be made for these people, then we can face the situation. Research to enhance knowledge on COVID-19 prevention and management. Here, this is very important. The lived experiences, people who already experienced some strategies and policies related to confronting, exploring, and managing COVID-19 are important to healthcare professionals and nurses in preventing and managing the future outbreaks of infectious disease like COVID-19. So we should come forward. Nurses should come forward and give their experiences and voice out their experiences, and they can put a research paper or a case study how they manage efficiently and without without exposing to any infection. So like that, if you come out with that, that will give some knowledge to the other nurses so that you can improve your practice. In addition to basic and clinical studies, conducting studies on disease spread prevention and the experience of supporting patients physically and psychologically will be very crucial, and examining the effects of administrative strategies on disease spread prevention in both healthcare and community strategies will be more and more valuable, very practical research. Exploring the impact of cultural differences on the perception and prevention of COVID-19 will be one of the most significant issues related to the spread and management of COVID-19 across countries and cultures. You have to give value to the culture and cultural practices and cultural differences. So this is a big challenge everywhere to manage this. Furthermore, exploring the psychological distress and social burdens experienced by the nurses and during this outbreak will be vital as well. It's very important. So exploring their distress is very, very important. And but better understanding the perception, stress, and concerns of nursing and other healthcare professionals may provide critical new information. If you explore, if you ask the nurse who has given the care to the patient, you have to get information from her. What is her perception? What type of stress is she underwent? And what are the concerns? What are the needs that were not met? All those informations you can get from the nurse who gave the care to the patients. And the administrative system may use to better support these professionals during future infectious disease outbreaks. The nurse administrators can get the input from the nurses who gave care already to the patients. So based on the information, you can improve the support system, and you can provide your supplies, and you can give monetary benefit. You can restructure your environment and the patient in the wards or whatever the cot, whatever it is, with the previous experience which is heard from the nurse who gave the care. You can make some change in the thing. Stamp test. This is the first stigma. Stamp test corona nurse. After giving care to corona patients, nurses are quarantined. You know, all of us, after giving the care, you will be quarantined for some period, and then they will be tested. If they are negative, then they will go back to that. If they are made positive, if the result is positive, they are admitted in the hospital, again quarantined. So this cycle, all of us know. When public come to know this, they stamp these nurses are infected. We know this is a routine. This is done to prevent the infection only. But the public understand that when the nurses are quarantined, when the nurses are isolated, when they are admitted, and they think that these nurses are more contagious and they are infected, this is the first stigma. The purpose of quarantine is not well understood by the public. In the public, these nurses are considered as infected forever. They don't understand that why quarantine is needed, because lack of education from the public. Public need to be educated. Coming to next issue is asked to vacate immediately. The nursing staff have been even forcefully evicted from their temporary residence by landlords and house owners due to the fear that the nurses make them more susceptible to the coronavirus infection. They are so scared that these nurses may spread the infection into their house, into their neighbors, into the community. So they were asked to forcefully evicted from the temporary residence. In Kerala, 3 male nurses who had voluntarily opted for duty at the isolation wards had to leave their rented accommodation after the landlord voiced his concern. Others in the neighborhood were also not ready to rent their house. It is very, very pathetic. The nurses who are coming voluntarily to support this COVID-19 crisis, coming for duty, and these people are not given house, and they were evicted. The neighborhood also did not support. So this is pathetic. The corona care nurses were denied for renting a house, once considered as an honored and noble person. Now it has now been tagged as a symbol of infection and profane stuff. This is very, very pathetic, and every nurse should think about this. Every public, this we have to address in the public. The corona care nurses were denied for renting a house. If they go for a house, they were denied. So once upon a time, not once upon a time, before this corona, pandemic, so we were all considered as angels. Nurses were called as angels, and it's a noble profession, honored profession, and so much it was talked about the nursing profession. Now you see the situation; they are tagged as a symbol of infection and profane stuff. It's just very pathetic. Everyone should register this in your mind, and this to be told. And government sector and the private sector, everyone, those who talked about the nursing profession, we should bring this information to their notice, that once upon a time this was considered as noble. Now they are thrown on the street by the public. Discrimination towards frontline nurses. Some healthcare workers involved in non-COVID responses have been showing discrimination towards the frontline healthcare provider through behavior such as refusal to talk to them, depicting disapproval to eat the same cafeterias and the same table. They refuse to share the same dining table. This is something very, very very crucial, and you have to think about it. So they are not. This is somewhat like lack of knowledge among the public. So that this behavior shows that they have lack of knowledge, less knowledge, and refuse to talk. And something very as if the nurses have done some crime. So this is everyone should think about it. Treated as untouchable. Nurses who has been involved in providing healthcare facility in a setting with a large number of COVID-19 patients are treated as an untouchable because of the fear of and inadequate knowledge among the public. So this is very, very sad. Threatened and beaten. There have been incidences with the reports from news handling attacks to healthcare providers in countries like including India, USA, Australia, where they are being beaten, threatened, and evicted from their homes. This is also happened. Neglected by their own family members. So their nurses are posted for assigned for COVID-19 patients. After giving care, when they return home, their own family members have some doubt, and they don't accept them. The nurses are being labeled as and set apart and facing loss of status and discrimination even by their own family members because of stigma attached with COVID-19. This is also very, very sad and very unfortunate, neglected by the own family members. And fear of infection by the own family members, same thing. No, they are so scared that they will catch the infection, and again they will be isolated, quarantined. This is the fear they have, and then who will bear the expense? The attitude and stigma shown by own family members has been creating a non-supportive environment to control the crisis, and is adding burden on the healthcare nurses because of the fear of infection transmission. Okay, public did not understand the nurses, and the own family members did not support. The environment is non-supportive, then where they will go? This again, if this will increase the burden of the nurses and increase their psychological health is affected. They may land up with burnout and depression and many suicidal ideation. Mental distress. Stigma of working with COVID-19 patients had led to abuse and aggression from members of the public, which is adding to nurses' distress, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic illness, and burnout. So this is finally the many researches I've done on this. So they land up with burnout, and they land up with post-traumatic stress disorders, anxiety disorders, and depression. So this is very pathetic. So the community leaders and public health officials can help us in preventing the stigma by maintaining the privacy and confidentiality of those seeking healthcare and those who may be part of any contact investigations. So we should maintain the confidentiality of the information. If anyone had contact with the patients, or anyone is had a positive result, any healthcare worker, we have to maintain the confidentiality of that information is very, very important. Quickly communicating the risk or lack of risk from contact with the products, people, and places. So this is very important. Our communication should be very clear. Who are at risk, who are not at risk, which practice will give the risk. So all those things to be clearly communicated to the public. Correcting negative language that can cause stigma by sharing accurate information about how the virus spreads. So many people think that by speaking you will spread the virus. So many wrong informations are spread into the community that should be avoided. Correcting the negative language, the negative information, whatever is transferred to the public, it should be corrected by the healthcare workers and the community leaders. They play a vital role in correcting the negative language. So that's very important. Speaking out against negative behaviors and statements, including those on the social media. So in the social media, like television and YouTube channel, you can correct that negative behavior. So whatever the misunderstanding and the myth is there, that can be corrected by the community leaders by speaking in the social media. Making sure that images used in communication show diverse communities and do not reinforce the stereotypes. Using the media channels, including news media and social media, to speak out against stereotyping groups of people who experience stigma because of the COVID-19 is also, you have to think about it. Thanking healthcare workers, responders, and others working on the front lines. So this is also very important. So in the media, instead of many things can come in media. So in the media, when they can address the healthcare workers, nurses, all those people who work for COVID-19, the success they can thank in the media. So that will reduce amount of stigma among the public. Suggesting vital resources for mental health or other social support services for people who have experienced stigma or discrimination is very, very important. This we have to intervene. Taking care of their mental health is very important. How to address the social stigma? There are some strategies. Here are some tips on how to address and avoid compounding the social stigma. The words matter. Our communication, whatever we speak, that is very important. There are some do's and don'ts when talking about the new coronavirus, that is COVID-19. Do your part. So simple ideas to drive stigma away, and communication tips and messages. So with this, we are going to intervene how to address this social stigma. Words matter. Do. Talk about the new coronavirus. This is COVID-19. You don't attach locations like ethnicity to the disease. This is not a Wuhan virus or Chinese virus or Indian virus or Asian virus. That you don't do that. The official name for the disease was deliberately chosen to avoid stigmatization. The CO stands for corona, VI stands for virus, and D for disease. 19 is because the disease emerged in 2019. So only we should address this disease at COVID-19. So you don't attach this with a person or ethnicity or with a country, anything like that. This we have to practice. Do talk about the people who have COVID-19, people who are being treated for COVID-19, people who are recovering from COVID-19, or people who died after contracting COVID-19 disease. So this you can talk about that. Don't refer to people with the disease as COVID-19 cases or victims. This is from the first year, when we enter the nursing. From that time onwards, we hear that any patient who are getting admitted in your ward, don't identify them as victims or patients or cases. Just identify them with the name. So you don't talk about that victims. One case is admitted, one case is coming, one victim is coming. So like that, one subject. So we should not address them like that. We have to maintain the decorum. We have to identify them with their name only. Coming to the next to do is talk about people who may have COVID-19 or people who are presumptive for COVID-19. So that is very important. Don't talk about COVID-19 suspects or suspected cases. So these are all the terms you have to be very careful. Presumptive for COVID-19 is accepted. So don't talk about COVID-19 suspects or suspected cases. This we have to avoid in the public. And do talk about people acquiring or contracting COVID-19. Don't talk about people transmitting COVID-19, infecting others, or spreading the virus, as it implies intentional transmission, as the blame on someone else. So this is when we use the terminologies, when we use the word, we have to be very careful using these phrases. We can avoid some amount of stigma. Using criminalizing or dehumanizing terminologies creates the impression that those with the disease have somehow done something wrong or are less human than the rest of us, feeding stigma, undermining empathy, and potentially fueling wider reluctance to seek treatment or attend screening, testing, and quarantine. So we have to be very careful in using these words. So the words should not be criminalizing or dehumanizing terminologies. We should avoid all those things in the public, and this has to be educated. This has to be highlighted in the public through the media. Do your part. What is your part to avoid this? Spreading the facts. Social media is useful for reaching a large number of people with health information at relatively low cost. So if you telecast one episode, you can reach many people with many facts. Engaging the social influencers, the social influencing people, you can ask them to speak in the media. You can amplify your voice. Make sure you portray different ethnic groups and ethical journalism. So this is your role. You can avoid the stigmatization among the public. So the nurses may not be stamped as corona nurse or infected nurse or a contagion. So these are all the strategies. Your part. The social media can play a big role, and you can talk about the people who recovered from the COVID-19, and you can voice your race. These are all the concerns, how nurses are. So all those things are issues to be portrayed in a different ethnic group. Communication tips and messages to avoid the stigma and infodemic or misinformation and rumors in spreading more quickly than the current outbreak of the new coronavirus. So this contributes a negative effects, including the stigma and discrimination of people from areas affected by the outbreak. Suppose in one place the corona is there, that area is considered corona street or corona community, like that. So we need collective solidarity and clear, actionable information to support communities and people affected by this new outbreak. So we need to have information. We need to have clarity. We need to have evidence before we spread the information, and we need to support the community, people affected by this new outbreak. So that is very, very important. And when you communicate, these are all the tips. When you tell that this street is affected with the coronavirus or COVID-19, so you need to have information in your hand before you tell that. Misconceptions and rumors. So correct misconceptions at the same time as acknowledging that people's feeling and subsequent behavior are very real, even if the underlying assumption is false. So if you find someone is having a misconception or a false idea about COVID-19, you can correct that. Same time, you acknowledge their feelings, so how they feel and their behavior are very real, or even if the underlying assumption is false, you have to accept and acknowledge them. But your role is to correct the misconception and myths, promote the importance of prevention. So that is very important. Life-saving actions, early screening and treatment. So however the misconception rumors are there, your primary role is to promote the importance of prevention, and life-saving actions and early screening and treatment is very, very important. That is our goal. Coming to that, collective solidarity and global cooperation are needed to prevent further transmission and alleviate the concerns of communities. Share sympathetic narratives. So you can share, you can narrate, and our stories that humanize the experiences and struggles of individuals or groups affected by the new coronavirus COVID. You can show them examples. So you have to show the sympathetic approach. Communicate, support, and encouragement for those who are on the front line of response to this outbreak, healthcare workers, volunteers, community leaders. So you have to show your concern, how you are carrying the frontline workers, how you are carrying the nurses, how you are carrying the doctors. So that will provide some encouragement, that will support them. So this support will be communicated to them, and you can tell many sympathetic narratives and stories that humanize the experiences and the struggles of individuals or groups affected by the new coronavirus COVID-19. So this will improve this collective solidarity may alleviate the concerns of the communities. Facts, not fear, will stop the spread of novel coronavirus COVID-19. Share facts and accurate information about the disease. Challenge the myths and stereotypes. Choose words carefully. The way we communicate can affect attitudes of others. See do's and don'ts, that what we have discussed already. So we have to be very careful in that. And if anyone is having myths and stereotypes, you can always challenge them and correct them. Share the facts which are very, very accurate, and information about the disease only you have to share. When you are not sure of that, you don't share the information to others. Tackling social stigma. What is that? How we are going to tackle that? How we communicate about COVID-19 is critical in supporting people to take effective action to help combat the disease and to avoid fueling fear and stigma. Is very, very important. The communication is very important, which is very critical in supporting the people to take the effective step and strategies to help to fight with the disease and avoid fueling fear and stigma. So this is how effectively you communicate to the public is making this matter here. So that will avoid that fueling and fear about the disease, and that will further avoid the stigma in the public. Proper health education targeting the public is very important. That appears to be the most effective method to prevent social harassment. So we discussed many social harassment. Nurses were asked to get out of the bus, public transport. They were not allowed to use the public transport, not allowed to share the common table in the cafeteria. Like that, many social harassment of both healthcare workers and COVID-19 survivors. It would also help create a proper environment to work as a team to contain this pandemic. It is very important. Public education. So we hear, no, when we call someone, we get the news that through the Airtel and other broadband network, they are also helping us. Like, no, you have to fight with the disease, not with the people who are suffering, or not with the people who are giving care. So that should be our slogan. That should be educated in public. People who are not having mobile may not know this. So media can help, and again the public workers can help us in educating this target. I mean, you can target the public and educate this information. Novel coronavirus disease COVID-19. So despite all these precautions, if anybody catches COVID-19, it is not their fault. We have to remember this. First, we have to understand this, and this has to be educated to the public. This has to, widely. This has to be spread. COVID-19 will heal that, but the scars of the stigma and mental trauma is left behind. It won't break the stigma. So we have to, together we will fight COVID-19. So the stigma it has to be broken. So we all of us together put hand together and work together, and we have to break the stigma. That is very important. To conclude my topic, the rapid spread of COVID-19 poses a serious threat to the human health, and it's impacting severely on public health, global communications, and economic system worldwide. You see everywhere the economy of every country is now down. Nurses are the key members of healthcare team charged to control and prevent the spread of infectious diseases. That's how we study, when we are posted. When we write the policy, we write our nursing students and our staff nurses will be posted in the preventive and promotive and curative aspects. Everywhere we are posted. So the nurses nurses are the key members of the healthcare teams charged, and we control and prevent the disease and treat the disease, the spread of infection, all those things. No, the nurses are very, very important, and they are the vital members of the healthcare team. They work for 24 into 7. Moreover, nurses work on the front line, of course, front line. They are the ones spending more time with the patient and providing direct care to the individuals. They don't do by consultation. They directly touch the patient and give care, show their empathy and sympathy, and giving tender, loving care to the patients and those who are with COVID-19. Further effort is necessary to develop strategic recommendation and to integrate new knowledge into the education. The public need to be educated properly. If the public are educated, the stigma won't be there. So it is very difficult to reach the public, but we can take small efforts in our communication may reduce the stigma. The immediate efforts to control and prevent COVID-19 and to care for those who are infected remain ongoing. We are always worried about the COVID-19 prevention and taking care of the COVID-19 patients. And very, the frontline workers need to be cared, and they also to be given importance like the patients, because their mental health is very important. So with that, to conclude, thank you, Corona warriors, for being in the front line and in this war against the COVID-19. You need to show compassion, you need to show assurance, you need to respect the frontline workers, and the encouragement should be there. So say yes to care, no to stigma. So whatever the strategies we discuss, with that we can educate the public and avoid the stigma, have the sympathetic approach among the frontline workers. That is very important.
Thank you.
So with
Thank you so
this,
much, ma'am. In fact,
yeah.
just one minute.
Thank you, ma'am. That's a detailed presentation.
Thank you.
Can we have any questions?
Yes.
Attendees can type their questions in the chat box, which will be addressed by a presenter.
So I think you can go through a few questions from your side, because I didn't see questions from the attendee side as well.
Yeah, let me check. I couldn't see
Questions
any
seemed as
questions.
yet. I've already checked. No questions as yet, so you can go for a few questions from your side.
Yes, ma'am. Only question is about the nurses who are working in the COVID wards or COVID-19 hospitals.
Yes. Yes.
The mostly the whatever I am getting the complaints from my colleagues and all is that the work is not divided properly. Like, you know, everything is given to the nurses. So that is that is the extra burden for them. Like, for example, now the in isolation wards, the parents or whatever the relatives are not allowed. Only the
Yes.
only patients will be there,
Yes.
and including feeding the patients, administering the medication, their psychological support, the documentation, A to Z, everything will be provided by nurses. So this is also adding to the stigma, social stigma, and the extra pressure in the work field. That also is the major concern. So what can we do? Like, what you had already talked about the policies and all from the government. So the policies which has to I think already there are many policies which has been established already, but still it's not followed in the ground level.
Yes.
So what can we what is the role of our, like, by being in the major post, what you are there already as a nursing superintendent? So what can we do?
I suggest that this is why, because this, like, all the everything is given to the one single nurse whoever is assigned with the COVID-19 patient. This is because of the concern of the personal protective equipment. Every personal protective equipment used for the particular patient is charged from the patient. So to avoid that expense only one single nurse is given. But see that they are given only one patient. My suggestion is, if only one nurse is there in the ward, no relatives are allowed, and all the needs are met by the nurse should be given one single patient. That policy we can, the nurse administrators can, nursing superintendent can take care of that. So, otherwise, it will be a big burden. As you said, it will be a big stress for them.
Yeah.
One single patient. When they give the assignment, only one patient will be assigned to the nurses. And that should be fine. With a single patient, they can continue with the 6 hours or 8 hours. They can meet all the needs like nutrition, feeding, and other bath, other things. They can manage very well one single patient.
Yeah, that can be done. Thank you, ma'am. Any questions from attendees?
Those are not
Okay, let me conclude.
yes.
Thank you so much for the presentation, ma'am.
Thank you.
So as madam said, the nurses are facing discrimination all around the world, whether it is India, US, America, Morocco, anywhere. Wherever you see, there are protests against this discrimination. So what are the major causes of this discrimination? The lack of knowledge from the people. So it is not done exactly from the society as well as from the government. So there are many policies from the government, but it is not reaching to the ground level so that people can change their mind towards the healthcare workers. So as madam said, so we need the proper medical devices like PPE and all to protect the nurses, which will have that psychological benefit for the nurses as well as other healthcare staffs. So we need extra researches to enhance the knowledge about COVID-19, how it spreads and how it can be contained and how it is treated. So those type of knowledge should be given to the people and for all the society. So and it's also our responsibility to raise the voice against this discrimination. So we should not keep quiet. So it's always like this, that nurses are suppressed everywhere. So now it should not be managed like that. So we should raise our voice against all these odds. So anywhere wherever you are in this world, you should raise the voice against this. So we should not tolerate this discrimination. So we have to raise this voice. And many countries, I want to recollect the memory. Like many countries thank our frontliners by clapping, dancing, singing, everything. So that's all okay. We respect that. We respect that. Even in our country, our prime minister had called for the on I think March 22nd. On March 22nd, we thanked our frontliners through various measures like clapping or singing for them. So it should not stop there. It should not stop there. So it's your responsibility to educate your people. So as a family member, you are discriminating your own family members, then how can we expect from other society members? So it's all about, so being a family member, you should educate the society towards the particular discrimination or the measures how we can tackle this type of problems. So the discrimination is not new thing. So we had seen the discrimination, even the greats like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela have faced the discrimination. So it's not new. So even the nurses, even we are facing it. So it's our responsibility to tackle this and win over it. So we should be resilient enough to fight this corona, and we will fight together, and we will live in one day. Thank you all for the attendance, and thank you ma'am for the detailed
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. Before we end this webinar, I would like to again thank everyone that it is because of the efforts of the healthcare workers that more than 22 lakh people have recovered in India, and it's still the rate is increasing day by day. And I think if we keep supporting, keep showering our love towards the healthcare workers, keep showing our support towards them, I think it will increase even more. And there will obviously, pandemic is a thing which will go away. There will come a day when this pandemic will go away, and it will be possible because of the healthcare workers, because of the frontline warriors. So we need to keep supporting them, keep showering our love towards them, and keep showing that we are always there for them, like the way they are always there for us. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. So before
Thank
we end
you.
this webinar, I would like to bring to note of everyone, all the attendees, that on the right hand side of the chat box, we have mentioned the steps of accessing the webinar certificates for all the attendees. Please follow the steps and get your webinar certificates. You will also receive all the people who have registered for the webinar will also receive an email to their mailbox, in which there will be a link for downloading the certificates of the webinar, as well as the feedback link, in which you can put on your feedback, how the webinar was, what was your experience and everything. So before we end this, I would like to again thank sir, thank you ma'am, for this beautiful presentation, such a knowledgeable presentation, and thank you sir for the beautiful moderation and the beautiful conclusion as well. We assure everyone that we'll be coming up with more interesting webinars in the near future, and till then we would urge everyone to keep supporting the healthcare workers, keep supporting the frontline workers, and do not discriminate them, because it is because of them that we are being with like more than 22 lakh people have recovered, as I said, and it is because of them that we are being safe even in this pandemic situation. So thank you everyone. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for attending this webinar. And till the next time, I would urge everyone to stay home, stay safe, and follow the rules of the pandemic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.